Hi, I'm Danell Lynn, and I just finished over a year on the road, 53,000 miles, 373 days, all 50 states and Canada, on a Triumph Bonneville. A lot of people have been wondering for my gear reviews about what I used and what I wore. So I'm starting in my underlayers of REV'IT. I wore REV'IT the entire journey and wore one suit the entire journey. These are the REV'IT underliners. When it was cold, I wore these every single day. I also have my REV'IT boots and my REV'IT socks. So let's talk a little bit about all the REV'IT gear that I would wear. We're going to go through the process and how I would layer and how I did my trip. I did do 12 months on the road, so during hot days I was not in this gear. I'm going to start with the cold weather. This is how I would start on my trip, in my underlayers. I'd get dressed in the morning in my tent, and then I'd start with putting all the rest of my layers on. Now, with the REV'IT, it comes with 3 different layers for inside the Sand Lady suit, which is what I wore the entire trip. So starting with all your layers in the Sand Lady's suit, and you do feel a little bit like the Christmas story. I mean, that's going to happen. You're riding in cold weather, you have to have the layers to keep you warm. So the more you layer, the more it puffs up. Alright, so we've got our pants on. Now, the cool thing about REV'IT, I'm one of those ladies who rides and usually rides in men's gear. On this trip, I did give the REV'IT Sand Lady suit a try, and I will never go back to riding in men's gear. This is one of the first suits that actually will sit on my hips. You can tighten it down. It doesn't come way up on my waist like most women's suits do. And then I'd put my jacket on. Actually, really cold weather, one thing that I would put on that is not a REV'IT suit attachment is this heated vest. Now, this vest is a battery operated heated vest. What's cool about this is I could plug in the battery, charge it up, it lasts for 10 hours, plug it in my pocket, and then I can get on and off the bike and still be warm. I put my jacket on. I'd almost always have a scarf around my neck before I put my jacket on. And you're nice and high, you can clip this if you want, but I always wore a scarf so I didn't actually need to clip that. And then I used 2 different REV'IT gloves. These by far are my favorite, and they're more of a summer glove, but even in the winter I could really feel what my bike was doing, especially in the rain. Even though they're not waterproof, I preferred to wear these, and I just let them get wet because I have better dexterity with this. So these are my summer gloves, and in some of the weather that wasn't the best I'd wear these, but when it was freezing I have these Gore-Tex winter gloves. And one of the things in the really cold weather, I was in some weather that's, 20 degrees, maybe 10 or 14 when you're riding in it. So in that type of weather, this is not sufficient. It's freezing, it's very cold. So I did, for 1 month out of my trip, I bought some heated gear that went under my layers. I bought heated gloves, and then I just plug right into the battery of the bike. So I did utilize that for at least, I don't know, I probably turned it on about 7 or 8 times, so it was needed, and it definitely let me go further for longer, so I could do a big ride day rather than the fingers or my knees freezing within 30 miles. Now, when it was raining, I did wear the REV'IT rain suit. It's super easy and packable. I did break my string on the road. That's probably the only thing that went bad, and a few seams gave out that I had to re-sew. But even with having to do those, with wearing it as often as I did, when I had this suit on, and it's a one-piece, you put it over all of your gear, I stayed completely dry. I've never had a rain suit that did that. I love this suit. It kept me very, very dry, and I even wore it on the really windy, colder days when I didn't have my heated gear anymore. This blocked out all of that wind. So that was a pretty good addition. I would definitely never leave home without that again on a big journey. So this is my suit, and this is the exact suit that I wore out there. Besides these gloves, this is a new set of gloves. These are the ones I wore out there. I have retired my gloves. They're retired with my helmet and my windshield from my trip, so they're in my garage just looking nice. But this is still, I use this as my suit every day. The only thing that has gone on this is you can see some color fading. Some of the black has become kind of gray or white. All of my zippers are still good. All of my pockets are still good. I've had nothing tear on the actual suit itself, on the Sand Lady's suit. I've gone down on ice. It was a very slow speed crash, so it didn't really need to utilize the pads that I have, but I ended up with no bruise. And the only other piece that does come with the Sand Lady's suit that I did not utilize are the rain liners. It does have the 3 liners, or the 3 pieces. So you have the jacket, the warm liner, and then you have the waterproofing liner. My hot days, they have this cooling set that you can get, and this zips right inside your jacket. So I'd usually just ride in a t-shirt. The cool thing about this is you stop at a gas station or somewhere to eat, you just wad it up, put it in the sink, get it soaking wet in the coldest water you can get, and then you just zip it right in. You open all of your vents. The Sand Ladies has a lot of vents. I have vents up here, vents on the side, vents in the back, vents in my arms, and you can even open up all of this. Now, I usually did not open this one up when it was hot outside because I'm very pale, and even with sunscreen I would burn through this part. So I'd keep this one down and just open the top vent up here. And then you'd stay pretty cool. If it was a super hot day, I rode in some days that were 110. In 110 weather, anything over 100 probably, this was not sufficient for me. I did have to go to a lighter shirt and put ice in my water pack and keep ice in different things. Different pockets, I'd fill my pockets with ice. So in really, really hot weather, I didn't utilize this. In just the regular, normal hot weather that normal people ride in, it was perfect. Part of the cooling gear REV'IT cuffs, same thing, you wet them, you put them here. And the thing is all of their products are right around where you have a lot of blood flow, so it's keeping you cool, and you have a neck cuff as well. Actually, on my long days is I rode with Moto-Skivees. Moto-Skivees are not by REV'IT, they're by Moto-Skivees. A padded underwear. Now you can see here, mine are the men's pair, because I started product testing these before they had the women's pair. And I wore these because I'd had them, so I just continued to wear them. The women's pair was not out when I began my trip. I do believe it's in production or out now, but I loved them. This is my engineered skin from REV'IT. It's what I rode in for over a year. It's what I did the Guinness World Record in. I loved it. It was the first time I'd used REV'IT, and I really used it. I used it on asphalt, on dirt, on gravel. I fell over on it in dirt. I fell over on it in ice. Very pleased with it. Out of 10, I would have to give my Sand Ladies REV'IT a 10. My underlayers a 10. My boots I would probably give a 9. I wish they were waterproof. I did have to wear sleeves over them, but these were also a discontinued REV'IT boot, so they no longer even have this product. So it's on the rain suit. I would love to give this a 10 because I absolutely love the suit. The only reason I'm giving it a 9 is just because of some of those seams, I think. But again, you got to remember that I used this a little bit more than the average person would use it. That's 53,000 miles in over a year, so you know, it definitely had a road test, and it's still usable. I just have to repair one of the seams on the foot again, which those could rip because of how I put my feet in there. So nothing that I have from REV'IT scores below a 9. I think it's fantastic. My REV'IT gloves are definitely a 10. I absolutely love those things. I have 3 pair of them now. I love my kit, I love my gear. It fit me very well. It was comfortable to ride in, it was comfortable to walk in.